school's out, blame corona, but I still got some science I could show ya. No class, no school, that's cool, throw the class on the YouTube. Even if they shut the school down, I'll get that knowledge anyway somehow. Real scholars won't stop for corona. Tune in for that science takeover.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Mrs. Finney's science class. Shout out to the HB Warriors, to all of our subscribers. We are now 157 subscribers. And shout out to all of our visitors. Today, we are on section 4. Let's take a look at section 4. What is section 4 all about? Gene expression. Gene expression. So our learning objective, I can explain the difference between a gene and an express gene. So we want to get a better understanding of what in the world is a gene, and then we can also learn about an express gene. All right, so let's take a look into our reading selection, which is in your TCI program under lesson 8, section 4. It's called gene expression. At the very top, it says you have learned that some traits can be passed from parents to their offspring. We think of offspring as children, right? So if you have a trait in common with your biological parents, did you inherit their proteins? That's the essential question of the day. The answer is not quite. You didn't get the actual pea protein that helps make melanin from your biological parents, but you did get the instructions for how to make pea protein from your biological parents. So your biological parents, they sent you the instructions for how to make pea protein, but they didn't actually give you the actual pea protein, okay? Remember that DNA is a substance that makes up the instructions for carrying out a cell's life processes. More specifically, DNA carries the instructions for how to make proteins. We're going to look at a video that will give you a lot more detail in regards to DNA and protein, how they're connected. A gene is a segment of DNA that contains the instructions for making a product, like a protein or multiple proteins. Think of these genes as recipes for making different proteins, just as with a recipe for baking. Nothing gets made if no one reads it and actually follows the directions. All right, I don't know if you've been in situations where you tried to make something in the kitchen, but you didn't follow the directions, and then you looked at the food and you thought to yourself, I'm not eating that. Try again next time. I've been there, definitely. Okay, so we want to take a look at this video here. We have a familiar face to talk about what is DNA. All right, let's take a look at our friend here on the Dr. Bannock's show. Welcome back from that video. So one big takeaway we want to remember is that the DNA is going to form RNA, which in turn will form protein. And you heard that word ribosome in there, and so you see the connection between DNA, ribosome, and protein. Awesome, right? So now let's just have a flashback. It says, remember that DNA is a substance that makes up the instructions for carrying out a cell's life processes. More specifically, DNA carries the instructions for how to make proteins. Okay, so let's go back to an image we looked at the other day. And this right here is what kind of cell? Bacteria cell, animal cell, or plant cell? What do you think? Type that in the comment section below. Which kind of cell is this? Hope you said animal cell. Good job. Bingo, bingo. All right, so right here we have our cell, okay? And this is our animal cell. And so in this particular cell, you're going to notice that we have this central piece. What is that central piece called? All right, let's take a look. We talked about this the other day, okay? So it says the chromosomes are the green rods in the, what's it called? Nucleus, okay? So as you notice here, we have the chromosomes. The genes are within the chromosomes, okay, made of DNA, all right? And so that's where you can get the connection of the cell and these different terms. We have nucleus, right? We have chromosome, and we know that the genes are within the chromosomes made of DNA. That's how all of those particular terms connect, okay? So now looking at that, let's look back at this information. So we know where a gene would be inside of a cell. So now let's go here. A gene is a segment of DNA that contains the instructions for making a product like a protein or multiple proteins. Okay, think of these genes as recipes for making different proteins. Just as with a recipe for baking, nothing gets made if no one reads it and actually follows the directions. I want to show you another image just to help you make a further connection. And we looked at this one the other day as well. Bring this down just a snag. All right, so here again, this is the body, okay? Whoop, bring it over, okay? And right here we have the cell, okay? And inside of the cell we have the nucleus, okay? And inside of the nucleus we have chromosome, okay? And the chromosome is wrapped with DNA, which we just watched a video about. We know a lot more about DNA now, okay? And on DNA you would have genes, all right? So here's an example. We have gene A. Come on, gene A. Come on. Come on. Here we go. There we go. And we have gene B, right? Come on, gene B. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. Just come on. Just follow. Just no. Don't be that way. Come on. It's all right. Thank you. No, not yet. Come on. Just slide. No. This is crazy. Almost there. Almost there. I think we got it. I think we got it. I think you guys know where gene B goes at this point. Just 1, 2. Actually, see you in that place, gene B. Come on. Almost. Maybe. Finally. Goodness. Thank you for your cooperation. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we have all of our answers checked here, all right? And so we talked about this the other day, and this way you can understand how everything looks, okay, as we go from body all the way down to very, very, very small genes, all right? So let's go back here, and we're going to look at the next piece here. So now that we know what genes are, where they are inside of DNA, okay? Now we want to look at the term express gene, okay? So here it says a cell needs to read a gene and follow the instructions for it to have any effect. An express gene is a gene whose instructions have been followed by the cell to make a product. Gene expression usually results in the cell making a protein, okay? Genes that are not expressed in a specific cell have no effect, all right? So it has to be an expressed gene, all right, for it to actually make a product. So here we go. Some genes are the recipes for a particular protein or part of a protein. Other genes are recipes for many different proteins. Still, other genes act as switches that tell a cell whether to read or not read other genes. How about that? You know, don't read that gene. Okay, you can read that one. How about that? In combination, the proteins that are made determine the physical traits that the person will have, how the person actually ends up looking. Most traits are controlled by more than one gene. In simplified terms, Genes are the instructions for making proteins, and these proteins determine someone's traits. Okay? Genes are the instructions for making proteins, and these proteins determine someone's traits. An organism inherits its genes from its biological parents. Therefore, the organism inherits the information for building proteins that determine many of its traits. Sometimes you can see the traits such as eye color that are passed on from parents to their offspring. Other times the traits are internal or are too small to be seen, like the shape of hemoglobin. We talked about that the other day when we were discussing sickle cell anemia. Can't see hemoglobin just looking at somebody, right? The study of the inheritance of genes that results in certain traits is called genetics. All right? So we have two terms that I want you guys to be familiar with today. One is an express gene, and that's a gene whose instructions have been followed by the cell to make a product. Okay? And then the other term is genetics, which is the study of inheritance of genes that results in certain traits. All right, let's take a look at our check for understanding. Select the appropriate term for each blank. Blank is the segment of DNA that contains instructions for making blank. An organism inherits its genes from its biological blank. Let's see, what should we put here? What do you think? I don't know if you can see these words. Choices. Proteins, carbohydrates, cell, parents, gene, siblings. Which word do you think goes in this blank here? Okay, so a gene is the segment of DNA that contains instructions for making proteins, instructions for making carbohydrates, instructions for making cells, instruction for making parents. That would be crazy. Instruction for making genes. Instructions for making siblings. Okay. Pick proteins. All right. An organism inherits its genes from its biological. Same choices. I'm going to say parents. Okay. And we're checking our answers. So, final sentence reads, a gene is the segment of DNA that contains instructions for making proteins. An organism inherits its genes from its biological parents. All right? So here is our essential question we need to know. Or actually, not the essential question for today, but here's a question we need to answer. So this is in your TCI program, Lesson 8, Section 4, notebook questions. You have a few for today. All right, let's check these out. What is the difference between DNA and a gene? How would you describe them? All right, let's take a look at our answer. DNA is the material that makes up genes. A gene is a section of a long strand of DNA. Okay, so jot that down in your notebook. And that's your answer for number 1. And you can put that in your own words if you like. Number 2 is actually our essential question for today. What is the difference between a gene and an expressed gene? What's the difference between the two? What do you think? I know you know. Okay. All right, here we go. A gene is a section of DNA that acts as the instructions for a product. An express gene is one that has been used to make a product. Okay? So one gives some instructions for a product, and the other one was actually used to make the product. All right? That is the difference. Okay, which of the following items can be a product of an express gene? DNA, protein, chromosome, part of a protein, a switch telling other genes what to be expressed or not. Which of the following is a product of an expressed gene? Make your choice. What do you think? Oh yeah? All right. Protein, part of a protein, and a switch telling other genes what to be expressed or not. All of those three, would be products of an expressed gene. So this one, and this one. Okay? All right, jot that down as well. And that is number 3 in your notebook. All right, number 4. How many genes control most traits? How many genes control most traits? Take a guess. What do you think? Based off what we talked about. Just one? Does one gene control most traits? More than one? Let's see. Usually many genes control one trait. Good job. What do we actually inherit from our parents? Proteins, genes, or traits? What do we actually inherit from our parents? What do you think? Genes. Okay? So we actually inherit genes from our parents. So make sure you answer these 5 questions inside of your notebook. All right? And we are good to go for today. So you should be able to answer this, be able to explain the difference between a gene and an expressed gene at this point. That was today's learning objective. Just want to go back to that answer and make sure you understand that a gene is a section of DNA that acts as the instructions for a product. All right, here's the instructions for making this product. Yep, that's how you make this product. It's a gene, right? An expressed gene is one that has been used to make the product. An expressed gene, all right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make this product. So 2 different things, all right? So you need to know the difference between a gene and an expressed gene. With that in mind, we can close out class for today. Close out class for today. Woo. 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 See if you can follow along. Woo. Maybe do some exercise. Step, clap. End the class with a little exercise today. Get that blood flowing. Here we go. Put your hand in the air on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hands in the air. Ah! Put your hands down on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hands down. Clap your hands. Okay, clap your hands. Okay, clap your hands. Touch your nose. Whoa. 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 Here we go. Hey, touch your shoulders. And touch your belly. And touch your shoulders. And touch your belly. And touch your head. And touch your nose. And touch your chin. And touch your belly. Didn't see that coming. And touch your shoulders. And touch your belly. And touch your shoulders. And touch your belly. And touch your head. And touch your chin. And touch your nose. And touch your belly. All right, guys, let's close out. See our blood flowing a little bit, you know, we see how we put that on, a little bit of workout, a little bit of science, all connected to the body. Get it? Okay, all right. Let's wrap it up. Oh, it's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow. We can learn again. Oh, it's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow. We can learn again. You guys have an awesome rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.